They were the homes of the Dashiell and Bambach families. As we come around the bend, we'll be getting into the Arneson Theater. It's an open-air theater. It seats 800 people. It's named after Edwin P. Arneson. He was the chief engineer of the Works Project Administration that completed the Riverwalk back in 1941. If you're looking to get to the shops at La Villita, the stairs over here to the left to get you there pretty quick. Over here to the right, you might recognize the stage for Miss Congeniality. We had Sandra Bullock up there dancing around in a bathing suit. Also, 5 bronze bells right above the stage. Each one of them represents one of the 5 Spanish missions in San Antonio. Now we're heading under Rosita's Bridge. Rosita Fernandez played on that stage for 26 years in the show Fiesta Noche del Rio, which is still in production today. They finished season number 67 last August. They'll be back again this June. They play every Friday and Saturday night during the summer. Over here to the right is the Briscoe Western Art Museum that just recently opened. Got a lot of different artwork showing the history of the West, as well as an interactive diorama, the Battle of the Alamo, Pancho Villa's saddle, and Santa Anna's sword are on display in there. I'm sure you've noticed a lot of the trees have lights hanging from them. Just so you know, it takes them 3 months to put those up. They leave them up through the holidays. It takes another 3 months to take them down. They just don't leave them up all year, I'm not sure. I think that'd be a lot easier. They do look nice when they come on. The last time they were on was about 2 weeks ago. I don't think they're going to come on tonight. You'll be sorely disappointed. They are in the process of taking them down. We're going to be heading up to the Presses Street Bridge coming up. This is a solid iron bridge built in the 1890s. It's called an iron ornamental bridge. There are 10 of these left in the United States. 3 are on the San Antonio River. This one sits pretty low, so we're going to steer right through the middle of it. You might think you're going to hit your head on it, but trust me, if you don't stand up, you'll be fine. I, on the other hand, be not fair as well. Go right through the middle here. And just up ahead on the right, you'll see a small island with an iron sculpture on it. The sculpture is known as Father Massaday's table. That was a gift from artist Rolando Briceño. 1991 is put there to commemorate the first Catholic Mass that took place in San Antonio on June 13, 1691. You take a close look at the island, you see it's completely comprised of that cypress tree's root system. And it's also a heart-shaped island. It's known as Marriage Island. We have over 300 weddings that take place there every year. We had 4 last Saturday, 2 on Sunday. On the other side of the bridge, we have Divorce Island. Be a busier island. Now, this part of the river is actually known as Old Mill Crossing. Back in the 1800s, Nat Lewis had his mill on the right bank. He would grind grain for the settlers. And this was also a very shallow part of the river. Settlers could cross, they'd water their horses. Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders used to train right in this area. And on the right, we had the Westin Hotel that was built in 1999. It's a really new addition to the Riverwalk. Surrounded by all these older buildings, they'll just past the Westin there on the right. There's a darker red brick building. That used to be the San Antonio Drug Company from 1919 to 1963.
Wow.
It's the Homewood Suites. Got remodeled in 95. And here on the left, this is the Tower Life building. This one lights up the San Antonio skyline. It's built in 1927 and 1928. It used to be called the Smith-Young Tower. If you look all the way up to the top of the tower, you'll see these concrete structures jutting out of each of the 8 corners. Those are known as gargoyles. They serve as a rain drainage system. So when it rains, the water comes out of the gargoyles' mouths into the gutters below. Now, if you look just above the trees over here to the left, you'll see these angry little scary faces kind of snarling down at you. Those are known as grotesques. Now, the whole building is an example of neo-Gothic architecture. The original owners, Smith & Young, were fairly superstitious. They put all these things in place to ward off evil spirits and bad business. Unfortunately, 1 year after the building opened, the stock market crashed. 1929, it cost them over $3 million to build it. They had to sell it for less than $300,000. Doesn't say much for gargoyles. I'll show you a neat little effect when we come out from under the bridge. Take a look back at the Tower Life building, and you'll notice that it's transformed into a ship. Looks like it's coming onto the river right behind us. If you use your imagination just a little bit, just imagine a little Leonardo DiCaprio hanging up in front of it. Now here on the right, the International Center. That was the San Antonio Main Public Library until 1998. Now it has the offices, the San Antonio Conventions Bureau. It's also right above one of our marinas where we dock some of our boats at night. And directly in front of us is Old Big Red. It's the Bexar County Courthouse. Built in 1896, it's made of red sandstone and granite. One of the oldest and largest continuously operating courthouses in Texas. Now, just in case there's any cross traffic here, I have to honk the horn. Don't be alarmed. So this part of the river that we've been on, this is all the natural flow of the river. It's a naturally occurring horseshoe bend in the San Antonio River. The river flows to the left, we're headed to the right, into a man-made part. We're entering into the flood channel, just leaving through floodgate 4. Now, when it rains really hard, floodgate 4 will rise up out of the water like a drawbridge. Keeps the water at the exact same level in the horseshoe bend at all times, so there's never any flooding back there. The hotels, the mall, the restaurants, all completely safe from flooding. Now, it doesn't rain very often in San Antonio. Looks like it might today. They say it will next week. We'll see. When it does rain, it can rain really hard, really fast, and flooding used to be a huge problem for downtown. In 1921, we had a flood that caused a lot of deaths and a lot of property damage. So the Army Corps of Engineers came in here. They built this flood channel for us, and that put an end to all our downtown flooding problems. There were a lot of prominent businessmen that wanted to fill in and pave over that other part of the river we were just on. Room for more buildings and streets. But lucky for us, 2 women had the foresight to put a stop to that. It was Emily Edwards and Raina Maverick Green. They formed the San Antonio Conservation Society in 1924. But a few years after that, there was a graduate from the University of Texas by the name of Robert H. Hugman. And he designed the entire Riverwalk at the age of 27. Presented his plans to the city. The city approved it in 1929. Still wasn't completed until 41, after the Works Project Administration took over, but Hugman is still known as the father of the Riverwalk. He designed every walkway and staircase, every planter, lamppost, and bench. Everything you see in the horseshoe bend is pretty much Hugman's design. Now, the Riverwalk was originally approved in 1929. It was originally to be called the Shops of Aragon and Romuli. It's all going to be modeled after Venice, Italy, with singing gondoliers and Italian restaurants and shopping. But then as soon as it was approved in 1929, the stock market crashed, everything got put on hold. And it was 10 years later, in 1939, when they started work. They used all the original designs, but got rid of the whole singing gondolier part, which I'm not too unhappy about. But Hugman didn't design this walkway over here on the right. That's fairly new. It's been there about 18 years. That was a gift from the Drury Plaza Hotel. It's an 850-foot walkway that connects floodgates 3 and 4. Now you can walk all the way around the horseshoe. And over here to the left, through the trees, hard to see anything back there, but it's Main Plaza. Established in 1731 by Spanish settlers from the Canary Islands. Used to be the heart of the city. There's also San Fernando Cathedral back there, built in 1739. Still houses some of the remains of the heroes from the Battle of the Alamo. Now, people always think that the San Antonio River is just a small river, or it's man-made, doesn't flow very fast, but it actually starts just about 6 miles north of here on the campus of Incarnate Word University. And it comes up through springs from an underground lake known as the Edwards Aquifer. Flows through the zoo, through downtown, goes about 230 miles southeast of here, where it meets up with the Guadalupe River, flows out to the Gulf of Mexico. Now you see that big tree right in front of us? That's the oldest and largest cypress tree in San Antonio. It's over 350 years old, over 9 stories tall, also known as the sniper tree. Back in 1835, there was a Texas patriot by the name of Ben Milam. He was staying in the Veramonte Palace, which was right behind us, and he was shot by a sniper from that tree right there. And now we're going to go under floodgate 3. This one comes down like a guillotine. Don't worry, that'll start the random testing for after 11 a.m. It takes about 15 minutes for that to come down completely. It does weigh 3 tons. It goes straight down. And coming up on the right is the Esquire Tavern. That was the first bar on the Riverwalk. They opened their doors in 1933, and they opened the day after Prohibition ended. Pretty much just took down the barbershop pole, and it was business as usual. They say it was a speakeasy before that. Also has the longest wooden bar in Texas, 108 feet long. And here on the left is the Drury Inn and Suites, actually the City Public Service Building back in 1921. Just to give you an idea of the severity of that flood, if you look to the top of the first floor windows, right where the three shields are, that's how high the flood of 1921 reached. It's a major flood. It's a great example of how we like to take an old building, give it a second chance at a new life here in San Antonio. We try not to tear anything down when we get home. Coming up on the right, you'll see tourists, their natural habitat. Another one of our ticket locations here. This one's at the Aztec Theater. And the Aztec over here to the right was opened in 1926. Used to show silent movies. It just finished about a 3-year-long run with a country and western show known as San Antonio Rose Live, the another live music venue on now. One of the last remaining Mayan theaters left in the United States. We're going to head under Salinas Bridge, named after late Tejano singer Selena Quintanilla. She was photographed on this bridge, as well as Jennifer Lopez, played her in the movie Selena. So partially filmed right up here. The beige building over here on the right, that's the Mocara Hotel now, but it used to be the home of the L. Frank Saddlery. From 1901 to 1923, they outfitted Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Riders, as well as Mexican revolutionary Francisco Pancho Villa. And right before World War I, they provided boots, saddles, and harnesses for the United States Army. And on the left is La Mansión del Rio, or Mansion on the River. It used to be the site of the St. Mary's School for Boys back in 1853. Then it was the St. Mary's Academy, the St. Mary's Law School. In 1966, two former students from the law school purchased the building. They remodeled it, opened it up for Hemisphere. 1968. Still has some of the original artifacts from the boys' school in the lobby and in the lounge. And we're going to head under the Navarro Street Bridge. When we come out from under this bridge, I'm going to show you a really cool optical illusion. We come out from under the bridge, everyone take a look up and to the left, where once stood a 26-story, three-dimensional building will have been replaced by a 26-story, two-dimensional wall. Looks like it might fall right down on top of you. Take a look out into the landing.
Rồi nhọn nè.
And that's the Mix Hospital right there. It was built in 1930. It's one of the country's first full-service, fully air-conditioned hospitals. And everything from ambulance service to daycare to indoor parking. Carol Burnett was born in that hospital, as well as Oliver North. This part of the river here is known as South Bank. This is where you're going to find a lot of the nightlife on the Riverwalk. Relatively quiet now, give it another 10 hours. We'll be lined up on the sides of the river, screaming at every boat that goes by, throwing things on the boat drivers. I don't recommend that. That's why I work the early shift. Come back here and throw things on boat drivers. Now, right in front of us is the Hyatt Regency that was built in 1981.
Okay,
and the Alamo is just on the other side of the Hyatt. Normally, this is a great way to get there. So you come around the bend, take a look to the left, you'll see these glass doors with the Henderson Reed Paseo del Alamo. And that's the passageway to the Alamo. It's usually the quickest way to get there from the river level. They're doing some construction through there. I'm not sure if you can make it straight through to the other side, but the Alamo is just on the other side of the Hyatt. This street in front of us is Crockett Street. We're less than half a block away from the Alamo if you take Crockett from here. But an interesting side note about the Hyatt Regency, when it was being designed, it had to meet strict height requirements. It wasn't allowed to cast a shadow on the Alamo at sunset. This building coming up on the right, this is the Casino Club building. It was opened in 1927. It used to be a German social club that later became apartments. There was a famous author that lived there by the name of Alex Haley. He wrote a lot of books that became movies. Probably most notably was Roots. He lived there. Also actor Tommy Lee Jones lived in that building for just a little while. Now we're getting into my favorite part of the Riverwalk. This is River Square. This is where you're going to find the majority of the restaurants. All the tantalizing aromas. Now we also offer a dining boat service. We can go to any one of these restaurants, set that up, Get a breakfast boat, lunch, dinner. If you just want cocktails, you can get a cocktail. It was on hold for a while. It's finally back. Nice way to enjoy the Riverwalk. Now, the Riverwalk first opened in 1941. It didn't look a whole lot like this. It was more of a city park. Place to take the family out, have a picnic. But the father and designer of the Riverwalk, Robert H.H. Hubman, he had a different vision for his design. So he put his office here in the building on the right. That's the Clifford Building. Hubman's name is written above the first floor. And he put his office there to prove to everyone that a business could thrive on the Riverwalk, that he wasn't afraid of flooding. People thought he was crazy. First, it took a few years before other businesses started to flourish. This restaurant over here on the right is Casa Rio, the first restaurant on the Riverwalk. They opened the doors in 1946. They were the first ones to do the riverboat tours, as well as the diving boats. They also celebrated their 78th anniversary back in October. So we're going to be leaving the natural flow of the river one more time. We're going to head on to another man-made part. This is the bottom of the horseshoe. Give you an idea where we are. And this part of the river that we're entering was built in the 1960s for Hemisphere. Now, if you're not familiar with what Hemisphere was, it was kind of like the World's Fair. It came to San Antonio in 1968. We had 7 million people coming to town for Hemisphere over the course of 6 months, so they built this part. So people can take river taxis from the natural flow of the river to get to the convention center. That's where we're headed right now. People love the Riverwalk so much during Hemisphere that they have got back bringing their families tours and really started to grow as a result of the Hemisphere of 1968. Put us on the map. And now the San Antonio Riverwalk is the #1 tourist attraction in Texas. #2 is the Alamo. Both are here. If you ever want to move to San Antonio, if you're living already, want to open up a business, we have the Chamber of Commerce on the left. We have all kinds of information for you. This message brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce. Now, since this is a man-made part of the river, there's no natural flow to it. This part of the river is lined with concrete. The rest of the river has a mud bottom. But there are still a whole lot of little critters that live here that don't realize that this is man-made. We have tilapia, perch, catfish, sunfish, crawfish, a lot of snakes in here. We've got turtles too. Turtles are nice. So they built this waterfall over here to the right. This waterfall helps keep the water flowing, keeps it filtered and aerated, keeps all those little critters alive and well. And it's to the right here, over the wall through the clearing, you'll see a tower. Looks like the Jetsons' house up there. That's the Tower of the Americas. That was the centerpiece of the Hemisphere of 1968. And it's also the second tallest freestanding tower in the United States. And second only to the Stratosphere in Las Vegas. We're actually 16 feet taller than the Space Needle. Stratosphere is 1,000 feet tall. Ours is 750 feet. Stratosphere has some sort of ride or roller coaster, bungee jump or something on theirs. We have a restaurant on ours that spins once every hour. Not quite as fast as a roller coaster. You get a pretty good view of the tower over here to the right. Now you probably noticed these boats are pretty quiet. These are all brand new boats. As of 2017, we got an all-electric, eco-friendly fleet. Watch your phone there. We have 43 boats total. They all have to be plugged in at night. They have to charge all night long to last all day long. But we have 5 different colors, 5 different styles. The boat we're on has eagles and stars on it. This is our military boat, since San Antonio is Military City, USA. We got another boat with 300 all over it. That's for our tricentennial that happened in 2018. San Antonio turned 300 years old. We've got another boat with all 5 Spanish missions carved into it. And then another 2 designs modeled after a Mexican paper art called Papel. We're headed to the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, named after the first Latino American to be elected to the House of Representatives. He did that back in 1961. And they've just added a few 100,000 square feet to the convention center. It's now well over 1 million square feet. One of the largest and most modern in the country. Companies and organizations love to have the conventions here. We actually have bookings through 2029. Popular place.
Booking. Cái hành chính luôn.
And here on the left is the Lila Cockrell Theater, named after the first female mayor of San Antonio. She served 4 terms from the 1980s to the 1990s. There's also a large mosaic right above the theater. We're going to turn the boat around here when we come back out and tell you all about that mosaic. And we're going to spin around underneath this glass bridge. Normally we'd be allowed to go around that island in front of us. Not too long ago, one of our drivers went crashing into one of the rails back there, leaving a pile of twisted metal underneath the water. We got a lot of new drivers on the river. We are forbidden to go back there until that's cleared up. You're not missing much, just a quick turnaround with the boats, but there is a walkway back there. Underneath the convention center, that'll take you to the tower, it'll take you to Hemisphere Park, and to the Institute of Texas Cultures. You're looking to walk to any of those places. So now we have a big mosaic coming up on the right. And this mosaic was a gift from artist Juan O'Gorman from the Hemisphere of 1968. It's called The Confluence of Civilization. Now if you look on either side of the mosaic, you'll see that it depicts 2 civilizations come through time to meet in the middle. There's a family in the middle there. That family is known as the family of the future. Apparently the future is clothing optional. That's show we're all about here. San Antonio, aside from the nudity, we've got a lot of different cultures. We all live together, we work together. It's a great community. And that mosaic is made up of over 400,000 1-inch by 1-inch tiles. All of them are their natural colors, with the exception of the blue ones. The blue ones have been glazed, but there are 11 different colors up there. They come from 7 different countries. Now, the artist made that mosaic. He made it in Mexico City in 4-foot sections, and he brought those pieces to San Antonio. They wanted it all completed before the grand opening of the World's Fair, finished 30 minutes before. Kind of a mad scramble there at the end, but it didn't get it all nice and done on time. So make sure there's not a boat coming around the corner. We have a new sculpture coming up on the right, just been unveiled in the last 3 years. It's called Stargazer. Done by an artist named Pedro Reyes from Mexico City. Made almost entirely out of volcanic rock. With the exception of the star, the figure's hand, that's made of carved marble. And that section over there to the right takes you to the shops at River Center, otherwise known as the River Center Mall. Our mall has 125 stores. There's a food court, an IMAX theater, a comedy club. There's also a purple store if you like purple stuff. That's all they sell. Apparently there's a demand for purple things, but I am unaware of it. They've always been very popular. They've also opened up a Dave & Buster's, a Margaritaville, a Legoland. They've opened an aquarium called Sea Life. They just opened up a new miniature golf place called Holy Moly just about a month ago. Some new things going on at the mall. Over here to the right, you'll see a large bronze statue. That statue is San Antonio de Padua, or St. Anthony. And St. Anthony was a friar in the 12th century from Portugal. That statue was a gift from Portugal for the Hemisphere, 1968. And St. Anthony had a huge role when it came to the naming of this river. The Spanish explorers first came upon the river. Happened to be June 13th, 1691, which is the feast day of St. Anthony. So they called the river the San Antonio River. Now, prior to that, the river was known as Yanaguana, which is a Payaya Indian dialect that means place of peaceful waters. And up to the right here, through the trees up at street level, you'll see the top of the church. That's St. Joseph's Catholic Church up there. It was built in 1868, and it was built by German settlers. Now, back in the 1800s, this whole area was hugely populated by Germans. And they wanted to have a church where they could have mass in their own language. So they built themselves a church. Now, to this day, every last Sunday of the month, they do all the services completely in German. They have a choir that comes in by the name of Liederkranz. They sing all the hymns in German as well. I believe that's going to be tomorrow. you're still in town and you're yearning for a German sermon, go check it out. Now to the left here, after this last big tree, you'll see the Hotel Palacio del Rio, or Palace on the River. I'll give you a little bit of history behind the hotel up there. So 1968, we had the World's Fair, the Hemisphere thing going on. 7 million people coming to town tour. We didn't have a whole lot of places to put them. That hotel was booked solid 14 months before Hemisphere. All 500 rooms were completely booked. Now the big problem with that is there was no hotel there, it was just an empty space. So they needed to get a hotel very quickly. What they did is they called on a graduate from Texas A&M University by the name of H.B. Zachary. And how he did it is about 8 miles south. He already constructed every room, complete with a carpet on the floors, pictures on the walls, soaps and dishes, towels on the racks, Bibles on the drawers. The beds were made. He loaded those rooms on flatbed trucks, drove them into town, hoisted them up by crane, and stacked them one on top of another like Lego blocks. Now we're about to come in front of the building here. It's on the left where we do to go past the first 4 floors. You'll see that every room after that is identical in dimension. This building is also in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the fastest constructed modular building of its size. They completed the entire project in just 202 working days. And they took weekends off, so it was about 8 months' time when they finished. It was just 3 days before Hemisphere. It's a really close call. Now to give you an idea of just how impressive it was that they built this entire hotel in only 202 days, the ticket booth coming up on the right where you got your tickets earlier, that's one room with 3 windows. That took 18 months to build. That does just about take us back to where we started, nearing the end of the tour. Make sure you take a look around your seats. Make sure you haven't forgotten anything. Hope you had a great time on the tour. Just so you know, tipping is allowed. It's accepted, it's greatly appreciated by our drivers. We also accept Cash App and Venmo. That's more convenient. There's stickers on the tip box. I'm going to dock the boat up here and tie it down. Give you a second to get everything tied and secured before you stand up. I'll let you know when it's safe to stand up and exit. You got your pictures taken before the tour. They're going to have here for you to take a look at when you get off the boat. But enjoy the rest of your time here. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming out to the San Antonio Riverwalk.